Within weeks of the Nazi occupation, Paris changed overnight. The city, once alive with laughter, music, and the clatter of cafe cups, was suddenly shrouded in an uneasy silence. The familiar rhythms of daily life were disrupted, replaced by a sense of dread and uncertainty that settled over every arrondissement. The vibrant heart of France fell eerily silent as German troops marched down the Champs-Élysées on June 14, 1940. The world watched in disbelief as the city's most iconic boulevard became a stage for the conquerors. Their boots echoed off the street of the Parisian Resistance. The French government declared Paris a red city, a desperate move to spare its priceless architecture from destruction. While the city's grand facades and monuments were preserved, this decision ushered in a dark and uncertain chapter for its people, who now faced the daily reality of occupation. The familiar sounds of Parisian life vanished, replaced by the sharp rhythm of jackboots and cobblestone. Cafes closed their doors, and the once bustling markets grew quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. German soldiers, many acting like tourists, filled the city, snapping photos in front of the Eiffel Tower and strolling along the Seine. Their presence was surreal, a jarring contrast to the fear and anxiety felt by Parisians forced to watch their beloved city become a backdrop for enemy music. Millions fled south in a mass exodus, desperate to escape the advancing German army. Families were torn apart, homes abandoned, and entire neighborhoods left eerily empty, transforming Paris into a ghostly shell of its former self. Those who returned found Paris transformed, fear stripped away, the city under strict and the world. The City of Light now belonged to the Reich. Swastikas flew from rooftops that once bore the French tricolor, a daily reminder of defeat and occupation. The city's skyline, once a symbol of freedom and culture, was now marked by the insignia of oppression. The occupation was not just military, it was psychological, a constant assertion of dominance. Parisians lived under the watchful eyes of soldiers and collaborators, their every move shine again. Daily life in occupied Paris settled into a grim new rhythm as the city's familiar energy faded into a tense and uncertain quiet. The once bustling boulevards and lively cafes now felt haunted by the presence of foreign soldiers and the weight of constant surveillance. Curfews and fear dictated every movement. The city's nightlife vanished, streets emptied after dark, and silence reigned, broken only by the distant echo of boots or the rumble of military vehicles. Food rationing left most Parisians hungry, with daily meals reduced to the bare minimum. The struggle to find enough to eat became a defining part of existence. Ration cards were required for every staple: bread, butter, meat, and even coffee. Each item was precious, and every meal was a reminder of what had been lost. Endless queues snaked outside bakeries for wheat bread. The black market thrived in the shadows, but only for those who could afford its steep prices, deepening the divide between rich and poor. Nazi propaganda dominated newspapers, radio, and cinema, saturating daily life with messages of fear and submission. The occupiers aimed to demoralize and control, twisting information to serve their cause. Free speech disappeared, even private conversations became dangerous. Friends and neighbors spoke in hushed tones, always wary of who might be listening. Listening to a BBC or making a careless joke could bring the Gestapo to your door, turning ordinary homes into places of anxiety. Fear and suspicion fractured communities, as trust between neighbors eroded and old friendships were tested by the pressures of occupation. Trust became a rare commodity, and isolation grew as people withdrew into themselves for safety. The occupation's true power lay in its ability to isolate and intimidate, casting a shadow over every aspect of daily life. Paris became a city of whispers, where survival meant silence, and every word was weighed with caution. Yet beneath the oppression, small acts of kindness and quiet attacks were endured beneath the weight of foreign banners. The occupation's darkest legacy was the persecution of Jews, enforced not only by the Nazi occupiers but also by the collaborationist Vichy regime. Paris, once a city of light and culture, became a place of fear and suspicion, its grand boulevards shadowed by the machinery of oppression. Anti-Jewish laws began subtly, barring Jews from public life and marking their businesses. Shop windows were painted with hateful slogans, and livelihoods were destroyed overnight. The city's vibrant Jewish community was systematically excluded, their presence erased from daily life. In 1942, Jews were forced to wear the yellow star of David, a symbol meant to isolate and humiliate. Children, adults, the elderly, all were marked, making them targets for harassment and violence. The badge was a daily reminder of their vulnerability. Unveiled in July 1942 was a turning point. Over 13,000 Jews, including thousands of children, were arrested by French police and held in horrific conditions at the Velodrome before being deported. Families were torn apart, and the city's silence was deafening. Most were sent to Auschwitz, where the vast majority perished. Only a handful survived the journey and the unimaginable horrors that awaited them. The loss was immeasurable, leaving scars that would never fully heal. Friends and neighbors turned away, some out of fear, others out of prejudice. The city's communities were divided, trust shattered. The occupation forced Parisians to confront uncomfortable truths about complicity and courage. Many Jews went into hiding, relying on the kindness of strangers and risking everything to obtain false papers. Some found refuge in attics and cellars, while others attempted daring escapes from the city, always under threat of discovery. The persecution was relentless, enforced by propaganda, surveillance, and the ever-present threat of violence. It stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly hatred can become law, and how ordinary lives can be destroyed by prejudice. For Paris's Jewish community, it was a time of terror and loss. Homes were abandoned, families disappeared, and the sense of safety was shattered forever. The city's conscience was tested and found wanting. Many struggled with guilt and regret in the years that followed, questioning the choices they made and failed to make. The shadows of these years will last long after liberation, a somber legacy etched into the city's memory and its streets. Despite oppression, a spirit of resistance began to stir in Paris. The French resistance started with small acts, graffiti, secret radios, quiet refusals. These whispers of defiance grew into organized networks, uniting people from all walks of life. Underground newspapers like Combat and Liberation spread real news of hope. Sabotage became common, cutting wires, derailing trains, and disrupting German operations. Resistance fighters risked everything, working in secrecy and constant danger. Intelligence gathering and escape lines helped Allied airmen and Jews flee. Every act, no matter how small, was a statement of hope. The resistance was diverse: students, workers, artists, and more, all refusing to accept defeat. Their courage kept the spirit of France alive. In the shadows, Paris fought back. The city's heart beat with quiet rebellion. The occupiers could not silence every voice. Joining the resistance meant living in constant danger. Capture brought torture and death, not just for fighters, but for anyone who helped. The Gestapo and police hunted relentlessly, using informers and brutal tactics. Collective punishment. Despite the risks, thousands of the price of freedom was high, and many had everything. Even in darkness, hope endured. By 1944, cracks appeared in the occupation's facade. German morale faltered as the Eastern Front collapsed and Allied bombings increased. D-Day brought hope. News of the Normandy landing spread quickly through Paris. The resistance intensified sabotage, targeting railways and communications. General von Choltitz, the German governor, faced Hitler's order, destroy Paris if the Allies approached. Explosives were planted on bridges and landmarks. The city's fate hung in the balance. Would it be saved or sacrificed? Parisians waited anxiously. would shape history. In August 1944, Parisians rose up. The resistance called for a general uprising. Police joined, barricades appeared, and fierce street battles erupted. Outgunned but determined, they seized government buildings and raised the French flag. Desperate, they pleaded for Allied intervention. Charles de Gaulle insisted Paris must be liberated by French forces. General Eisenhower relented, sending the French 2nd Armored Division racing to the city. On August 24th, Leclerc's troops reached the city hall. Church bells rang for the first time in years. The next day, Allied forces entered Paris, and German resistance collapsed. General untold surrendered, defying Hitler's orders to destroy the city. Paris was saved. The city's spirit had endured. The liberation of Paris was a moment of overwhelming joy. Crowds filled the streets, embracing soldiers and waving the French flag. Charles de Gaulle led a triumphant parade down the Champs-Élysées. Yet liberation brought reckoning. Collaborators were punished, sometimes brutally. The city faced harsh winter, shortages, and scars of war. Recovery was slow, but the fear was gone. Parisians could speak freely and rebuild their lives. The story of occupied Paris is one of resilience and courage. Ordinary people faced extraordinary challenges with defiance and hope. The occupation tested the city's soul, but could not break it. Paris emerged scarred but unbowed. The city of light shone again, a testament to the enduring human spirit. Even in darkness, Paris never lost its light.